Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the state of unemployment in India, whether it is really falling as shown by the government figure, or what are the critical parts or critical aspect of this particular data that has been released by both the government as well as independent research body. So first of all, let us try to understand this, in which context we are discussing today's issue. So recently a data has been released by CMIE, that is Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, and this data has actually shown that the India's labor force participation rate has fallen to just 40%, which was 47% in year 2016. So since last 6 years we can see a decline of 7% in LFPR. Now what is LFPR? We are going to discuss in a while. Also, if you look at the we can say the outcome of this data, or we can say the interpretation of this data, it suggests that more than half of India's population in the working age group. Now working age group is generally defined as the age people who are higher than 15 years and older. They have decided to sit out from the job market, and at the same time this proportion of people is also continuously increasing. That means the number of people who are opting out from the job market is continuously increasing, and thus labor force participation rate is continuously declining. So now let us first talk about labor force participation rate. But before understanding about labor force participation rate, let us try to understand what does the term labor force itself mean. So as per the definition given by CMIE, it defines all the person who are of age 15 years and older, they are classified as a labor force of the country. Now in this group we have two category of people. The first category of people are those who are already employed. That means they are in some sort of employment and they might be switching jobs to some other work. While the second category of people belong to those who want to become employed, who want to join a job and are thus continuously making effort. They are attending interview, giving examination, all those things. So these are the willful participants of job market. These are who are already in the job market. So when we combine them together, we get the labor force of any particular economy. So the participation of these two group of people are one, that is the percentage of working age, that is 15 years or older population, that is actually asking for the job, that is called as labor force participation rate. And these participation, that LFPR actually tells us the actual demand of job, that what is the actual demand of job in an economy, which is a very important parameter, because it is on the basis of this demand both the government as well as private sector announces their vacancy or try to create job opportunities and also try to expand their businesses. So basically LFPR is a combination of, as we discussed before, category 1 the employed people, as well as category 2 the people who are willing to be employed and thus actively looking for a job. Now what is the status of labor force participation rate in India? So the problem here is that generally in any particular economy LFPR is considered to be practically same. That means labor force participation rate does not changes. And this actually have caused a problem in India, because if we consider labor force participation rate to be largely stable, then the best way of assessing the employment or unemployment economy is something that is called as UER, that is unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is basically calculated on the ground of the labor force participation rate. So the problem here is that as the labor force participation rate in India declines, it gives us a false sense that unemployment rate is also declining. That might not be true in the real sense. So let us try to understand this in more detail. If you look at the trend of labor force, so first of all, to give you a sense, the global labor force participation rate is somewhere about 60%. That means out of 100 people in the world, around 60%, that means you can say 60 people are a part of labor force. But if you look at the state of India, as discussed before, in the year 2016, the labor force participation rate stood at 47% and employment rate stood at 42.8%. While in the May-August 2021, the labor force participation rate have declined to 40.4% and employment rate also have declined to 37.4%. However, if you look at this figure in the second chart, which shows the unemployment rate. So if we consider between the year 2020 and September-December 2021, what we are seeing a decline in the unemployment rate. It gives us a false sense that more people are getting employed, and unemployment rate is decreasing from 11.6% to 7.3%. However, in the same time, if you look at this, the labor force participation rate also have gone significant decline from 47 to 40.4%. So let us try to understand this, that how the decline of labor force participation rate can cause underreporting of unemployment. So for this we have to understand that let us take example of two cases. The first case is, suppose there are 100 people in any particular economy and the labor force participation rate is 60%. That means 60 people are belonging to category 1 or category 2 as discussed before. People who are actually unemployed, it's 6. In that case, the actual unemployment rate will be somewhere about 10%. Out of 60 people who are actively looking for the job, who are a part of labor force, 6 are unemployed. That means 10% is unemployment rate. Now, if you look at the second case, suppose that here the labor force participation rate is less and only 40%. And suppose in this 40%, 2 people are those who are unemployed. Now, if you calculate the unemployment rate, it will come to where some about 5%. That means what we can see or what we will expect that in these two cases, from case 1 to case 2, the unemployment rate has declined from 10% to 5%. But this is not actual decline. This decline in unemployment rate has happened mainly because of decline in labor force participation rate, and that is how the underreporting of unemployment can happen if LFPR is declining. Now, what is the better criteria to understand the state of unemployment or employment in country? So, instead of relying on unemployment rate, which fluctuates due to change in labor force participation rate, the better way is focusing on the employment rate. The employment rate basically tells us that what are the total number of employed people as a percentage of working age populations. Since here the base mark which we are taking is working age population, that means unemployment rate will always decline or increase only if people are leaving or exiting from the job, and also if your working age population is undergoing change. So, it is much more reliable parameter as compared to UER, and that is why it is to this region, since it considers working age population as the base. Employment rate captures the fall in the labor force participation rate to better represent the stress that the labor market might be facing. So, the key takeaway is that instead of relying on UER, we should rely on ER to gauge or have a better understanding of the status of unemployment or employment country. So, what does the employment status in India tells us? If you look at the ER, so here if you look at again the first graph, at 42.8%, that was the employment rate of the country in the year 2016, while the employment rate has declined to almost 37.4% in year 2021. That means we can say there is a decline of almost 5% of roughly 5% of decline in the employment rate. If you look at this in absolute terms, so in absolute terms in the year 2016, the total workforce in India was 95.9 crore. Again, to remind you, total workforce means we are discussing all the people who are more than 15 years of age, and out of these around 41.2 crore people were employed. However, this have significantly changed. If you look at the figure from 2021, now the total workforce of the country stands at 107.9 crore. That means we can say almost we have between 2016 to 2021, we have increased in the total workforce of country by 12 crores. However, if you look at the absolute number of people who are employed, that has declined from 41.2 crore to 40.4 crore. Thus, what we can say that in the last 6 years, the labor force has increased by 12 crore, while the total number of people employed have declined by 80 lakhs. And that presents a very disturbing scenario as far as the employment ratio or employment-unemployment ratio of India is concerned. Now, obviously, the question asks that why we have decline in the labor force participation rate, and again if you compare with the global average, India's is 40%, while global average of LFPR is 60%. So, why India have low LFPR? The one major reason which is given by most of the experts is because of abysmally low level of female participation in the job market. For example, if you look at the male participation in India, it stands somewhere about 67.4% in the job market, while at the same time female participation is just 9.4%. That is abysmally low figure This figure tells us that out of 10 women in India, only 1 woman is either employed or is actively looking for a job. 9 women are either not active, neither are employed nor are actively seeking any job in the market. And this we can also understand from the second point, that India's female labor force participation rate is just around 25% when the global average is 47%. So again, it is half of the global average as far as the female labor force participation rate is concerned. The main reason why, apart from this female, the other reasons why we have low LFPR is also because many people complain that it is due to the lack of suitable opportunities, lack of suitable job as compared to the degrees which people are holding, and also lack of remuneration and these perks that the job offers to different people. That is why generally people do not even want to engage in such jobs and want to keep themselves out from the job market. They may go for higher studies, or they might start to open a business or start to do something different activities, or even go to outside India for higher education. So this is mainly because of lack of suitable job opportunities. Now, apart from this lack of suitable job opportunities, we have to understand this is not a problem only from the demand side. This problem is not only from supply side, this problem is also from demand side, because a lot of companies, especially IT companies, have recently said that they are not finding the adequate quality of graduates that they are looking to employ, and that is why even though many vacancies or many posts are vacant in the private companies, they are not able to hire, they are not able to increase the employment rate because the quality of graduates are also relatively low. So that is what we have to work on both sides. We have to address the demand side as well as the supply side issue. Now obviously the question comes that since the major reasons why we have low LFPR is due to the low participation of women in the market, job market. So what can be the main reason behind that? So obviously several important reasons are there. The first is the law and order issues, because women are more prone to crime, more prone to become the victim of crimes, and especially in the metropolitan cities and especially in private companies where we have night shifts as well. So that also discourages women from participating in the job market. Second, there is low level of infrastructure except few cities, and that causes problems and challenges to women from move from their home to work and work to home. So infrastructure, like we have better means of transportation, need to be developed to address this issue. Third, obviously, since India is still to a large extent is a traditional conservative society driven by paternal mindset, and that is why in many household itself, the people and the members of the household do not want the women to go out and work, rather they want them to take care of the needs of the household and involved in the household chores. And the fourth problem also, because as per the CMI, that household work that many of the women, they are not only are pressurized, they are not only not working because they are pressurized, but they are voluntarily not participating in the job market because they want to take care of the home, take care of family, take care of the children, and that is why they engage most of the time in the household work. However, in India we do not have any perfect, or we can say any good methodology to capture the contribution of the women in the household work. So that also gives us a sense of low participation of women in the economy. So these four issues need to be addressed if we want to increase our female labor force participation rate, overall labor force participation rate, as well as the employment rate of the country. Now the question comes that how do people who are exiting labor force voluntarily are able to survive? So here some observation has been again made by CMI. They have said that the fall in labor force participation rate since 2016 has been accompanied by a fall in proportion of household where more than one person is employed. That means generally if you look at the people who are exiting out from the job market, generally they have the share of those households where more than one people are working is high. To give you an example, if suppose both husband and wife were working before, and now due to certain reason either husband or wife decides to quit the job and sit at home or look for better alternatives, at that time what will happen? The labor force participation rate will decline. But here the effect on the household will not be that much high because still one person is earning income, and thus that is what is said the fall in LFPR has largely been the result of additional person that is employed in typical household losing a job. That also discourages, or we can say the incentives for this person to again search for job is not very high, because he or she has this opportunity to sit for a better alternative, as already one person is earning income, and they are better able to run the household at the same time. So these are all the important observations regarding the unemployment status in India. I hope you understood about these points well. Thank you very much.